This is Moon Knight, which is a Disney Plus original series that is the latest chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So as mentioned, this is the latest hero and or character that has been welcomed into the MCU. This is a Disney Plus original series that will consist of 6 episodes that are about an hour long each. So I have been able to see 4 of the 6 episodes, which is apparently a very big deal because they haven't done that in the past. They're like, this is the first Marvel show that they've shown this much content from, which is kind of funny because, I did used to review all of the like Netflix Marvel stuff, and they gave me like the full 13 episode orders of the seasons, like literally months in advance. But anyways, this is a big deal. Disney's never done this apparently. So the 4th episode was actually still even a work in progress, which was really, really cool to see, but it was basically complete, just needed some audio balancing, some fixtures here or there. But it was quite cool to see this much of the series and get really a good idea of the overall scope of the season. It's a lot easier to kind of give a review and give a full context to viewers what something has to offer by actually having been able to see a lot of it. So our lead here is Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight. So this is a very cool character. I was always described, or to me, it was always described that he's sort of like the Marvel Batman, but he likes to kill. So we actually see a lot more of a visceral and more adult sort of themed sort of series. It still very much is on the overall Marvel brand, but it does get fairly gory and it does get fairly intense. So consider this a little bit more really, I would guess you would say, visceral than other Marvel properties that we've seen in quite a while, which is quite cool. So this character, and I'm trying not to spoil anything because they asked me, of course, not to, but this character we have to give some brief, kind of details so you understand who this individual is. So this is an individual that has multiple personalities. There are 2 that I was present to. There is a very sort of calm, museum stock kind of guy, and he's noticing different times of day are kind of like, there's gaps in his day. There's things missing. There's things that he can't quite understand. He doesn't, he's like, oh, why does my goldfish have 2 fins? And he goes in and they're like, oh, well, we told you yesterday, you can't get goldfish with 1 fin. And he's like, and he's just really confused. And then he starts waking up in these really weird scenarios, these almost hostile scenarios. And that's where we kind of get introduced to the second, more powerful version of himself, which has really embraced the whole Moon Knight persona. So kind of in the backdrop of this is a certain God element. This is another one of those Marvel scenarios where it's kind of like, they've been here the whole time. Kind of stuff that's been happening recently, like the Eternals, all that kind of stuff. They've always been here. But anyways, so basically it's this kind of old, grumpy, bone-headed sort of like Egyptian-esque kind of god. And he's able to grant these abilities, the Moon Knight persona, and you see the 2 different characters have very different takes on who Moon Knight kind of is, like what this suit is, what this offers you. So basically the Moon Knight suit is kind of like regenerating properties, looks cool, very stylistic, the power of like the moon, stuff like that. So that's where he kind of gets these options like, do stabby type things with his like moon crescent pieces. It's quite cool. The suit looks fantastic. The CGI and stuff on the suit's absolutely great. Now I did notice some of the CGI in some of the finished episodes was a little like here or there, but for the most part it does look really, really good. It looks premium in terms of the art aesthetic, the design, the sets, which you get to see some pretty cool places. I actually really love like the ancient Egypt in that. So you do get to see some cool, I guess you would say almost Tomb Raiding-esque elements. And then there's a lot of dives into the psyche of the character. And then there's also this very interesting individual played by Ethan Hawke that's kind of like sitting there. He's kind of a very sort of, I guess you would say he's a religious messenger of sorts that is there to sort of judge people on a scale sort of level. And it's really neat to see these 2 kind of not necessarily fully clash because, the religious messenger is sort of more of a calm speaking and sending other things to do their bidding kind of thing, whereas Moon Knight gets in there really intense against mercenaries and other enemies and is quite wild. There's also a thrown-in side companion that has a very interesting connection to Moon Knight that you learn over the course of the series, and you get to dive into that. I would say overall, I actually quite enjoyed the series. It was fun. It was fairly decent. It was fast paced. It kept the action going. It left some wonder. My favorite was actually the first episode. It was really, really, really cool. I did find though that it kind of just throws you into the situation, which, you know, isn't necessarily a bad thing. But for this time, I kind of felt like it was just kind of like, okay, things are just kind of happening. It's, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It was very, very solid. It was very enjoyable, but there wasn't necessarily like anything insanely gripping. Like I wanted to watch more, but I wasn't like, oh wow, you know, this is really deep or intense. It felt like more Marvel that I had known, but a little bit more of a intense graphic angle to it, which was again quite cool to see. I like that maybe that they will embrace more maturity with some of these characters that are a little bit darker. I think that would be perfect for Marvel to do, and it would be perfect for Disney Plus to offer this sort of, you know, more adult sort of option. I think that would be really great. Just keep in mind that this is really only in the violence department, not really anywhere else. So other adult type themed things aren't really present here. But I did really love them playing with the different perspectives. Again, like a masterful performance, being able to present multiple perspectives of a character. I thought that was very well done. And it's almost comedic to a degree. I mean, all Marvel stuff is, right? But it very much was well done. This kind of laughter between this shifting perspective back and forth as this character is just trying to figure out what is going on. I do love the whole Egyptian themed things. I loved when they went to certain themed locations where there was a little, like, not tomb raiding, but you know, you get that feeling of being like a Tomb Raider type of setup as they go into these ancient places, and they've got some mysterious creatures and some crazy things going on. And I thought that was very well done. I am quite curious to see where the last two episodes do actually go, because again, like I said, I have watched 4 out of 6 episodes. I don't have access to the rest, but you know, it gave me a good look at this series. And I think this is something Marvel fans will obviously quite enjoy. I think most Marvel content's really, really good. Is it the craziest thing they've ever done in the series? No, not particularly, but I think it is a neat new character. For me, and this is entirely standalone. Like, this does not have any integrations that I saw with anything else in the Marvel Universe. It's completely by itself. But, you know, for me, I was kind of like, this is cool, but I would have liked maybe a bit more mystery and intrigue. And, you know, you're just kind of thrown into it and you're just on this journey and it's just like kind of go, go, go. And, you know, that's cool. But, yeah, and then there's some romance stuff going on. And the cast is a very intimate cast. Like, it's really just, you know, the split main character, Ethan there, and then the companion individual that's with Moon Knight. Again, very light on stuff because I don't want to spoil anything. This should be enjoyed fresh and something that you can plop into and be like, okay, cool, let's see what's happening. And that's the action. It just goes, 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 goes. And yeah, it's kind of neat. I like the sets, very extravagant at times, very cool, but very well presented. Great acting performances, I would say, across the board. Again, some of the CGI, hit or miss. But overall, enjoyable, fun, an easy watch. Something that I think I would love to see Moon Knight interact with other characters. I think that would be really, really cool to see if they can bring in this character in other situations. And I'm wondering if we'll maybe see more of this, or if this is more of like a standalone arc, because it feels completely separated from the MCU, which is super cool. But yet it exists within the confines of everything else, of course. So Moon Knight was enjoyable. It was a solid show. It was fun to watch. It was kind of cool, visceral, fast-paced, kept the action going. If you're expecting something a little bit more deep or meaningful here, that's not really present, but you get some strong performances, you get some neat characters, and you get a compelling story that you probably want to get with. And that first episode was definitely the best one. Really, really cool how they just kept flopping in different perspectives. And generally, I just want to see how it all ends is the biggest thing, because they're setting up some cool stories, some interesting conflicts, but I feel like they're kind of just digging in, and that's a weird feeling to have 4 out of 6 episodes in, if that makes sense. So once again, Moon Knight, grab your crescent, like the video, and subscribing is great as well, and maybe we'll do some more Disney Plus shows in the future. If you like this, let me know, and